Okay, Hardin County, I'm back. This is going to be part 2 for our health department. What's the situation we find ourselves in, and what is it going to look like moving forward, and really how should we get involved? We are the recipients, citizens are recipients of our health department, and so I definitely feel like we need to have a seat at the table, right? And the seat at the table really means that if you're in a township, you need to be talking to your township representative. If you're in a city, you need to be talking to your mayor so that they can represent you at the DAC, which is your district accrediting board. I forget what it's called. Meeting, which is coming up on Wednesday. And so we need to make our voice heard to them so that they accurately represent their constituents and their community on what we need. So if, like I said, we have a lot of complaints about the environmental health, maybe like sewer things that, we need to be constantly feeding that back so that we can get services that are better fit for our community. So that's why I'm out here sharing with you what I have found out so that you're better informed, so that when you go or you have questions or you have complaints or concerns, that you know where to go and how it's going to affect you. So real quick, I want to talk about this structure because it's always the structure that is the hardest to figure out. And it's seemingly the thing that most people don't know, right? You go and you say, hey, how's this work? Now, Daryl Flowers is very good. He knows a lot of this stuff and, is able to, kind of how it all fits together. And then, of course, just asking lots of questions and looking at the ORC and how things play together helps. So it does take time. It does take effort to figure this stuff out. It's not just something that we intuitively know. And oftentimes, if you think, oh, this is how it works, now that's not how it works. It's surprisingly not intuitive, a lot of this governmental stuff. So basically, we have the health department employees who answer to the board. The board then answers, they don't really answer to the district advisory committee. The advisory committee is really just advice to the board. So you can kind of take it or leave it. So sometimes there's a lot of redundancy. So you have the health board, you have the DAC who's giving advice, and then the health board will then go to budget commission at the county, which is the auditor, prosecutor, and treasurer. They're the ones who hold all the purse strings. And, basically the health department can go to the budget commission. They can say, hey, the DAC said that they didn't want to raise fees, for this year. And the budget commission can say, hey, we're going to agree with the DAC and not allow fees to be increased. Or they say, now we don't agree with that. We're going to allow these changes to go through, right? So they're ultimately ultimate decider on if you're going to get the money, not the health department. The health department, the DAC, everybody, the board can all be on board and say, hey, this is what we want. They could go to the budget commission and can budget. They say, nope, we don't have the money. We're not giving it to you. So they really have all that veto power in that meeting. So we certainly will be going to that meeting and seeing how it all plays out because, that's the final battle ground right there. Which I'm not saying that the meeting is bad. It's just they're the ones who know the financial aspects of our community and what it can sustain. So, take it for what it is. That's kind of the structure of what we got going on. Now for the health department for 2025, here, this is from the auditor, if you can see it. And it breaks it down. So there are 3 pieces financially to the health department. Of course, they're going to get grants and they're going to get other income from fees and licenses, so that kind of here. But then a lot of the money is coming from our townships, our municipalities, and Kenton. The county does not actually put any money into the health department. They did with the $150,000 money that they gave in January. But for the most part, it falls on the municipalities and the townships, I guess because that's where the people are. A lot of health departments have a levy where they're paying, they put a levy on to help support the health department, which, if the county would give the health department a standard budget to take the place of a levy, because we already pay taxes to our county that then would be given to the health department, it kind of cuts the county out if they put a levy on. So it's just additional taxes, which, that's a thing. So let's go down. We have, I think it's 15 townships, right? 15 townships. They make, so how it's done is the value of the townships, property tax value is $617,146. I said that wrong. $617,146,890 of value, right? And then they have a factor of 0.0002365 is what you pay per your value of your assets, right? So if you, let's see, we've got Liberty Township looks like 65 million in value. Pleasant Township is 65 million in value. Of course, that's Kenton and Ada. And so they have more value, so they're going to pay a little bit more. And so the townships are running $145,926 of charge, right? So it's anywhere from 15,000 down to 6,000. It looks like that townships are going to pay into the health department, and they're going to have a lot of the wells and septic systems and things that they utilize with the health department. Then we have our municipalities, which are 8 municipalities minus Kenton. They have a total value of $131,414,500. So that's your property value at the same factor as before. They're going to pay in $31,073 of cost, right? So the townships are paying 54% of the cost. The corporations are paying 11% of the cost. And then we get down to the city of Kenton. And I'm assuming back when we used to have health departments all over. And of course we have a regionalization where we combined Kenton and Hardin County together. And so I'm assuming that's why Kenton has a third of the share compared to everybody else. So Kenton has a value of $140,048,760. Times that factor comes out to $88,500, and that's 33% of the total revenue for the health department. And so they've broken it out that you have townships a third. Well, not really. Townships are a little over half, and then you have the corporations are at 11. And then the city of Kenton is at 33. So all that combined is a grand total of $265,500 of their budget, which, what did I say their budget was? 800, I think 790,000. So they're getting 265,000, and then they have the gap that is done by other revenues and grants and type to bring it up to the $790,000 budget that they have. So that kind of breaks it out. You can definitely see that, Kenton is carrying a portion of that weight. So I did some other numbers. Yeah. Anyways, we're just going to leave it at that because it does get confusing. So that's kind of the breakdown of how, let me tell you. So this is what's going to the DAC, right? So the only way that the health department, because the grants are not coming into the health department, and so the only way that they can raise income quickly is to go to the DAC and say, hey, we've not raised our rates in 5 years, and so we want more money from the townships and municipalities. They started out at 10%. I heard 10%, through different meetings that we went to, and then the last financial meeting that I went to when they approved the recommendations for the DAC, they all of a sudden just switched it. It went to 25%, and then just asked for 30, right? So they kind of were playing around with 10% and 30%. 10% maintains the 6 staff that they have right now, right? 30% means that you can hire a DON so that you're in compliance, and we don't have to contract out to get that piece in, which is going to help you generate some revenue through some of these other services. And so it kind of just went from 10% up to that 30%, and they approved that to go to the DAC to say, hey, we want to raise everybody 10% or 30% of what you're already paying, which, that's quite a chunk of money. So I know for Kenton, they're looking at $27,000 an additional funding for the health department, right? So it's a big, there's a big chunk. To do this right. So like townships would have to absorb almost $44,000 from their budgets. Now, when I talk to some of the township people, that it's like, well, if you guys have to pay in 30%, is that going to put a hardship on the townships? And then the townships are going to turn around and say, hey, well, we don't have enough money, because it comes right off the top, right? So if this goes through, the budget commission says, hey, you're paying your 30%, which they can do, right? And then when the money for the townships come in through the county, they take that 30% off. They take whatever it is that they're due, and then they push the rest of it down to the township. So they don't ever see that money if this goes through. And so will the townships have to then go to their citizens and say, well, we're going to have to raise your fees because we don't have enough money to serve you, because we had to pay more to the health department, so now you're just getting taxed again. So if you had a levy, right, then the townships could keep what they have right now, as long as they're happy with what they are getting, and then the commissioners would put a levy on, and then you would send your tax money directly to the health department. You're going to pay in your taxes no matter which way you do it. Even if the county commissioners take and fund the health department just out of the general fund, that's still your tax money going into the general fund, which then is going to be paying for the health department. It's just whether they're going to be the ones. Nobody wants to be the one who taxes you more, right? Commissioners don't want to put a levy on. Townships don't want to tell you have to pay more. Health department doesn't want to have to tell you they want to pay more. So, pass the buck to somebody else on your taxes, but it still is going to come out of your taxes one way or another, unless we can figure out a way to say, this is by law, by the ORC, this is what we have to have legally. These 4 positions, we have to do these number of reports, and you just slim your health department down as much as possible. Is that enough to serve the community to the best of what we need, right? So if we're going to be taxed one way or another for our health department, I want to make sure that we get the services that we need, right? And I don't want to pay for services that we don't need. Do we need the environment? Some places the environmental health director is the only person. They go out and do all the work. We have Dustin goes out and does work, and they're also wanting to hire a clerk to do scheduling. So, for the workload that we have, do we need all those people? right? Or can we say that Kenton is pretty stagnant? We don't have a lot of growth. We don't have a lot of things. Can we streamline things? Can we bring things down and get the most value for our money that we possibly can? Those are that's where it falls back on us, that we need to make sure that we're getting the value out of our tax dollars that's required. And then hope that, things change in our government, that, I'm hopeful that from the State Department, from our state, that we can get more, because our health department's not the only one who's in this trouble. Health departments all over the state are in this trouble. All over the nation are in this trouble. So somebody needs to recognize that and say, we just, need to fund health departments, because the laws, the regulations, the insurance costs, the employment costs, the retirement costs are too much to sustain for rural Ohio to sustain these health departments. And so, are they going to make a push for regionalization where Union County and Logan County, they regionalize a health department and they're the ones who hold the accreditation? You have a nurse who can say, hey, I'm doing a vaccine clinic in Bell Fountain, then I'm going to go to Kenton, and then I'm going to go to Lima, and you share that administrator, just like what we talked about with Vancrest, that it's easier for Vancrest to spread out the cost over 14 buildings rather than each department doing it. Is regionalization always good? No. I would much rather know that we have, a nurse, or we have a health department that is very, in our community. They know our needs. They're familiar with their citizens. They're familiar with our Amish community. They know how to work with them. Imagine somebody else coming in and saying, go out to Amish country and, build a relationship with them. That's kind of difficult to do, although I don't know that they have a great relationship with our current sanitariums or current health director. But at least they're aware of each other. They've gone through this process. So there is benefit in being local. And even if you do regionalize, maybe your higher ups are in another city, but we have staff that are local that are doing the other jobs. And so this is all just to explain to you, our health department is in dire straits, not of their doing. The regulations and things are definitely hitting their department, just like they're hitting every department. I will say this really does fall back on the board to, that they haven't raised their fees in years. They haven't gone and assessed. Oh, that's the other part. So they want to raise all this money up 30% and then 2% every year after that. So our health department's going to get a raise 2% every year, that at least in the city of Kenton, their employees are not getting a raise, and they're not going to get a raise because now your 2% is going to the health department. It's a mess. And like I said, it's not just things that are in our control, but we do need to work together as a community and understand what we should be expecting from our health department, what we should be expecting from the Board of Health, and how they serve our community and how best we can help them to serve us. So again, another long meeting or another long video, but this is really important. I encourage you, I will be videoing at the DAC on Wednesday, and if you are interested in the health department, I know they're always looking for board members who are engaged and involved, and so if you are interested in getting involved, absolutely, we need everybody. If you have complaints or you have insight on what I am talking about, or maybe I misspoke on something, contact me. Let me know. As much involvement as we can get, so that we, in this next year, we can help our health department get back up on its feet. I think that's what we need to do. So, and again, hoping for changes in our national and state departments to the benefit of our health department. So thanks for sticking with me. Again, let me know what your thoughts are, and we will talk to you later.